So there was something I said quite a number of years ago when the third wave feminists were really making a lot of noise, and that you started to see then more and more of these like moms saying, oh, my son was saying this or that online, and it's so terrible. Or I hear him talking to his friends and he says things like this and he says things like that. Now what's funny is, of course, anybody from Gen X, they would be like, are you serious? Like, this is what's worrying you. He said, really? That's the hot take, like, and we're like, oh, well, no, let's see what the reaction to all these articles and stuff. And this is going back years. And gamer words and all this kind of stuff online. And why do kids say things all the time about Adolf Hitler online? And now all these various services trying to keep it clean and nice and neat and not mean for the future of the children, because there's nothing that in a country where almost everything is now by there's some program you could apply to so that you could literally almost have everything handed to you as long as you check the right boxes when you apply. That nothing is more important than keeping the kids away from the word of meanness. The mean words is because you don't want them learning how to think on their feet and deal with other people. No, you don't want that. You want them always on their heels or on their backs, which really, to a great extent, is now what it's looking like. A lot of the Democrats, pretty much, and the liberals, the Euro liberals, pretty much have that to offer. You'll either always be on your heels, doing something that is like real shitty, that you have to stand up, and or you'll be on your back, and you'll be an OnlyFans whore. You'll be dead, or dying, because you had to work so fucking hard your whole life, and that you don't really get much out of it. Because now there's the over a dozen signs of global stagflation coming up. Over a dozen, almost 20 signs of global stagflation ramping up. And because there's only certain parts of the world that really have a kind of robust procreative thing going on, that there will be enough just raw labor. Just this idea of, well, no, there's just going to be humans labor. Humans will create, well, there isn't, you got to count on, some people will be out of the workforce just being parents. There's always people who are lames. Then you're going to have people who they just are lazy. Then you're going to have to deal with Pareto's distribution. Only about 20% of the population is going to be worth shit because of Pareto's distribution. They're making up for the other 80%, just kind of keeping the lights on and keeping the mats in place. So this is not this wacky kind of Malthusian liberal wacko way of seeing things through a Marxist perspective of there's humans, they will just do, is not enough. Also, different parts of the world specialize in different things simply because of generations of development of skill in various realms. Like, for example, Scott Ritter yesterday was saying that Israel has nothing left. Yada, yada, yada. Look at their ports, this and that. That's not how Israel's economy works. They export IT and software solutions mostly, and services, lots of services. So that's a different. You're not looking for imports, at the port of Haifa to figure out how well they're doing or not. And it was just, and it was just one of those things. Scott Ritter does this every so often, that it's like, Scott, what the fuck are you talking about? But anyway, so this idea of there are humans, so good thing will happen. That's not. No. The next 20 years are going to be a malaise, very likely, no matter who wins. It'll be even worse if the liberals win, because they're women, and they women can't do economics very well, so they just won't. It won't go any place. It won't be worth shit. It'll just be constantly people thinking that if we just play Tea Party and everybody at the table starves together, everyone will be happy. Of course, it's not going to work out that way, because also women are women. So individual women want good shit. They want to dress nice. They want to look good. So they're going to insist on my man should get his slice of the fucking pie fair and square, as should I. And that's what it's going to come down to. You know, it's like, I didn't marry a man who could fix everything in the house so that he could have most of his take-home pay taken by butter huffers and bastard squeezing cow people and shit. You know, like, I don't get. Nobody has to pay for your crotch fruit. Don't mean it's just at a certain point you got to say something mean as hell, so that if it gets clipped or if liberals listen, that they're like, God damn, that's fucked up. And it's like, yeah. And remember, I'm the nice guy. Always remember, liberals, I'm the nice guy that is saying it out loud. There's lots of men out there. I see them. I see you in Oregon. There's these guys who I've got this feeling you and I subscribe to a lot of the same people, but we can't talk about it openly yet, because the leftists are dangerous. It isn't time for laughter. It isn't time for fun. It isn't time for camaraderie, unfortunately, openly at the cigar store, unless you're in, you know, Springfield, Oregon, where it's like, you know, somebody comes in with that hippie shit and people go, what are you, some kind of hippie? And the guy takes his cigar and he fucking leaves, because he knows exactly what that meant, and that he's probably not going to make friends there. And that's how the future is going to kind of go. You see, I started to think about it coming out of the idea of male subcultures that will snub the guy they don't want in it. I understood this about what was coming for the next generation. There's going to be these men who, there's going to be this part of the male culture that they'll just straight up snub the guy who is he just doesn't fit in. And more, the left is going to start finding that it's them. Destiny and Destiny type people are going to start finding, oh no, there's like, oh, I hate that group of players, blah, blah, blah. They're MAGA people, this, that, and the other. That's going to happen more and more and more. You know, so, you know, it's kind of one of those good luck with that, bro. But then it started to hit me, and I was looking at, apparently V caught on to this too, and V has a source, and I'm going to check out V's point on this, and it's something that also he would understand too, having a history coming from a socialist, a former communist country, that he would understand, like, kind of, yeah, this is, and not only that, he seems to have done a lot of studying in such a way that it was like kind of, so once you no longer are a commie, how do you adjust your mind to the real world, things like that. So he seems to also have an understanding of this is your brain on communism versus your brain on other things. So he presents a lot of this is what happens when your brain starts repairing from communism, you know. You know, and you'll recognize this in people that are like falling into it on the internet left. because there's just things that people will say as they're falling into socialism, and you start to realize, like, you do understand that the way you are mentally kind of collectivizing one or another group is actually, it's kind of insulting. like really, I was sort of interested in something that Destiny did in one of his clips, that he actually seemed to finally get the experience of black men, there are blacks, people who come from Africa or Haiti or the Caribbean, and mixed race black people are all different. The fact that Destiny finally seems to be figuring out, like, yeah, shut the fuck up, bro. You don't understand shit. Go back to Nebraska, asshole. You know, like, just, yeah, you know, like, cool it. You don't get it, bro. You weren't there to deal with it. So I'm kind of liking that he's, but then he went into, Trump, my pussy, it hurts, Trump, you know, and so then I'm like, okay, he's still Destiny. He still has a badge. So it was, Trump has grabbed him by his pussy and waves him around like a toy, like a what is it, a muñeca. He's muñeca. La muñeca. That's a Destiny. So anyway, V got into this thing that he's found. If men don't have hope, they will turn right wing. And this is actually kind of interesting, because I've made this argument about, as society has gassed up women and has started making everything, you know, that it's easy mode. Your vagina means easy mode. You need to have things handed to you, because people always, they're taking. They take from the women. The women, they would, and they could, and they should, but to the men, they keep stopping them. You know, and so, you know, they can't really ever give you anything that would be, you know, an adult vocabulary level. So, you know, what's the substance of this argument? You know, like, what are men doing that stops you from something? They can't. You know, they can never. That's never where it goes. They need funding for programs. Somewhere there's a program and it needs funding, and you have money, man, dude, man. You need to pay up. You need to pay for dinner. My crotch fruit, they're hungry. You're gonna pay for 3 dinners. So women are becoming now these tribal savages, except they have no tribes. The black women are, because you can see what's happening with black women. Oh yeah, well, we're voting for the Great White Hope. Ooga booga burning fucking spear, ah! You know, and, you know, my crotch fruit, how could you? And so, you know, they're losing it in a way that's like totally like, bring the blood and fire, you know, and stuff. And so then there's that. So while women devolve into savages, men start devolving into, we need to shore up because the water's rising. For men, this is the water is rising. Sherry's just closed all their restaurants. No announcements. Okay, Oregon doesn't have a phenomena like that. That's California. California, you have whole chains just shut down. That's been normal for California. The fact that this just happened to Sherry's, and nobody knows. Like, no, I asked somebody, nobody even knows Sherry's just shut down all their restaurants. Like people are gonna find this out by driving along West 13th here in Eugene, and they're going to be like, that's weird, the Sherry's is closed, you know. And they might not have gone there for hash browns for a while. Goose, lots of geese chilling, you know, now it's one of these things that people like look at this like, oh yeah, you know, Sherry's, you know, it's always there. Sherry's it's just always been there for most people. So, I think Destiny doesn't really get like, no, you guys are absolutely going to lose this thing of we're going to win people over to the left or something like that, or people will see through Donald Trump's, wild and crazy lies, and stuff. And it's like, no, actually, it's truly that you're really fucking delusional, and you really don't get that. No, we know that you guys cannot be trusted at all. That there's something inherent to thinking of that's left of center, that you are like gang members, and gang members aren't really loyal to one another once the money flows. And that you will become more and more like the women, and you have. You leftist guys, you paint your nails, you look whack, and you act odd, and you like bad music, and you wear weird pastel like clothing, and I mean, you're really weird looking dudes, and now there's just too many men that it just, when they see you, they know something's wrong with you. Yeah, and that's a big one. You really got to get that, which you can't. You really don't get how, no, somebody looks at, like when people look at the fat, and because fat in nature is bad. It's swollen from being poisoned. It's like the most kind of diseased and fucked up person in the village, it looks like. It's not that, this person is this heavy set. That's like what an old person is supposed to look like. Now you have young people who look like they're swollen by poison. So there's not really a way around. Young men will become more right-wing. And one of the most important things about this is that this has been sort of a thing that's like feared, but without anybody citing where they're getting the idea from. And that is what clued me into this a long time ago. Everybody wants to talk about this idea like, oh, the right wing, the right wing, the right wing. But nobody ever cites right-wing subculture, or even where right-wing subcultures came from, because they don't know. They were just living their life as a normal person doing normie things. They don't really know about football hooliganism, soccer gangs, that kind of thing. They want to think that baseball and American football has the same kind of subculture when it doesn't. That's more of local gangs that wear certain clothes. Like, if you see in San Francisco, California, to this day, if you are, actually, it's actually the Bay Area of California in general. And you see somebody wearing Dallas Cowboys. Well, 49ers is the local team, and that's red. You wear Dallas to show that you are Sureño or a Crip, and that you're down to fight, and that this is your real estate. That's what that comes from. But without knowing that kind of subculture, without knowing that background, and it's not sensible. It's not rational. That's the whole thing. Such subcultures aren't meant to be rational. They're just what's left over when young men don't have the tradition of some sort. They will invent a tradition, and that tradition will be a gang. And that's why people refuse to understand Chicago. Chicago's gangs were constructed not just from gangs prior to, say, the 40s, but they were actually constructed out of the youth centers. This is not dissimilar to San Francisco. San Francisco just basically tore down most of the youth centers during my youth, but they had become hubs of where the gangs kind of operated out of. And eventually, there's a guy here on YouTube who has a fantastic history of these photos old sweaters from these clubs. Just amazing that he was able to get some of these intact too. Old event posters, because that was he made it clear, like what you would do is you would have, like, stuff for the youth to dance, go out and meet each other. But it also was like anything having to do with entertainment, and Chicago. So drugs and booze, and such like, and it's the way it is. It's just that's what worldliness is. But we don't, yeah. Only Gen X is now really candid enough to discuss. No, our feral youth, that's what it was like. That this is what our world was like. And so now that you have sort of these people kind of living in a bit of a la-la land about, like, how humans behave, young men are turning to the right, because nobody will be frank. Nobody will be candid. Why listen to liars and become a welfare state? What's the point of that? Why should, mom doesn't seem to know what basic words in politics and economics mean. Why should I listen to her? They go online and they find me, and I'm able to piece together songs of an era, terms from different cultures, and I'm able to try to give it some kind of context, and and it mostly because I really think no, I don't think it. It is belief. It's nothing more than really, and some of you will even say it, kind of a naive belief. We'll pull this off. Things will get a little rough. It'll go. If a lot of you tell me it's a naive belief, I have to believe. This is my only land. My land. Our republic. That's all I got. So, that's why young men are tuning in, and they're leaving the left to hear a very not so nice guy on the right, who's the nicest guy you guys are going to probably encounter on the right. Remember that. I'm probably one of the nicest people you're going to deal with on the right of center. Just don't forget that. Oh my gosh, because I'm getting older. And when you get older, you might kind of get a little hard-hearted, but there's only so much fire in your belly anymore. But young men still have plenty of fire. Remember that.